Good afternoon. My name is Stephen Tracy, and I'm manager of reference services here at the Bentley Library. And I'm going to go kind of fast because I realize you've been here a long time. Just my luck, I get to go at the end of the day. That's all right. A lot of important things to tell you for those of you who are not familiar with the Bentley Library. We're look at this great blinking light, don't I? Because we've been doing this all day. Wow. You guys are awesome for putting up with that. I can tell you it's our only blinking light at Bentley. Every other light on campus is perfect. And if it's not, AJ will take care of them. That notwithstanding, as I said, I'm the manager of reference services, which is a public service area in the library. So we're the folks who help you when you have research questions. We're also the folks who purchase materials. And to sort of dovetail something that Chris Beneke said earlier, to sort of dovetail on what Chris was talking about, while we can't help you from getting in trouble with the folks at Academic Integrity, one of the things we can do, and I'll show you that in a few minutes, one of the things we can do is actually help you, one, cite your sources properly, and two, find good sources that are actually worth citing. Most students get into trouble with citing sources, as Chris probably pointed out, when they're not sure the quality of the source. You know, is this a known thing or an unknown thing, and the quality of the source itself. So we can show you where to find the resources that we think will help you in your academic career here at Bentley. For those of you in the graduate school who have not been with us previously. This is the library's homepage. You can get to it at library.bentley.edu. It is our portal. This page is never closed. You know, we joke that the library is always open because you can get to most of our resources 24/7. You can get to most of them with a phone. You don't even need a computer. Don't use your phone, though. It's really a bad way to actually do research. But your computer, if you have a laptop and a network connection or internet connection, you can get to all of the resources that I'll talk about today, except for our print books. Did that happen a lot, too? No. Oh, awesome. So it's just me being lucky. First off, some things about this website. How many of you came from an academic institution, had a website looked kind of like this, same ideas for a library page? I suspect a few of you did because we stole the idea from everyone else. We all have this search box on our page, and our search box has 4 different content areas. I'll explain those real quick. If you're looking for articles, you can use that articles tab. The default is for it to fall in the articles tab when you go to library.bentley.edu. We assume that most students are going to be looking for articles when they do their search. Now, I have 2 things that I'm going to mention about this. This is a fine search. It's what we don't call it a federated search anymore, but that's what it does. It aggregates or federates a number of resources at once. So you put your search terms in, and it'll search a number of different electronic resources that the library subscribes to. This can be great. This can give you a lot of content all at once. One of the things that we recommend is that you don't do this search if you know exactly what you're looking for. You know exactly what your subject area is. You go to this home page, or you go to this page, library.bentley.edu. If you click on the link for databases A to Z, when you click on that link, you'll get a listing of databases that you can filter by subject. These are broad subject categories, but many of the databases that are listed on here don't fall into that article search because you're not looking for articles, right? You're looking for content from Standard & Poor's. You're looking for content from BNA or CCH. You're looking for legal information. You're looking for primary source material for a tax class. Many of those things don't fall into that article search. That article search is just looking for aggregators, things from companies called ProQuest or Gale or EBSCO, companies you may have heard of in the past. It's not important that you know the companies. But these broad subject areas, these filters, will allow you to filter the content that you get based on the subject area. Now, a lot of subject areas at universities are now interdisciplinary, right? There's more than just sort of one. Now, if you're doing tax law, you're probably just looking for tax law databases, right? You're probably, if you're getting an MST, you're probably just looking for tax databases. But in a lot of cases, you're looking for databases that are multidisciplinary. We've taken that into account when we've organized these. If I go to law and taxation, for example, and I scroll down after I make the click, it does filter. We have about 100 databases. So this knocked that 100 databases down to 9. Okay? So these are things from vendors that you may be familiar with. How many of you are actually looking for an MST, or going for an MST here at Bentley? Good, you'll believe everything I say. Essentially, Some of these materials, I said, are primary source materials. Some of them come from aggregators who aggregate content. You really don't need to know that. You can contact the library to find out these things. We'll talk about contacting the library in a few minutes. But this is just an example of what we do with our content. We can also, we get rid of law and taxation and go to marketing. We'll drop that 100 databases down to a larger number. We just have more databases in a broad sub. Do you have a question? I thought you had a question, so I appreciate you talking. Sorry. These broad databases, okay? This will have, this is for marketing, so we're going to have content from a lot of different areas. From some specialized marketing databases like an IBIS World or a Mintel, which look at market research that other people have done, package it up and present it to us. Or it might just be things from the business press, things from databases like, you can see it up there, ProQuest and EBSCO. These are the types of resources we have. The advantage of using our resources as opposed to some other things that you might find on the internet. One, these resources, most of them will help you cite, especially if you use one of our aggregators. So dovetailing with what Chris Beneke was talking about an hour ago. So I do some research here in an aggregator from ProQuest. Okay, and this is ProQuest ABI Inform Global, a big business database, and I do marketing and sneakers. Anyone have Perry Lowe's class this semester? You will be doing the search. But if I do the search for marketing and sneakers, it gives me back my results. That's all fine and dandy, that's great. But one of the cool things, we look at our results, we decide we want it, if we get the full text, we don't get the full text of our results. Here are all these say full text. All we have to do is click on the title, we get the article. That is all great. One of the things we can do, though, is to mark our articles, and most of our aggregators will do this, and this, like I said, dovetails. I usually follow Chris on this, so I know what he's talking about. So I just marked 4 articles. Okay, I just marked 4 of my articles, and I click Cite. See that Cite link? One of the things it will do is ask me what format I want to cite it in. For the most part, when you hear it Bentley, you'll be citing an APA, okay, from the American Psychological Association. Most forms of business are considered social sciences. So we use most journals that publish in a field of business will use the APA or something like the APA. It's usually based on the APA because of the social science. Here it's on MLA. The default is for MLA. We can change that to APA. And we'll take APA 6. We don't want annotated. We'll just take the regular. And it gives me my works cited page in APA style. Okay, so if you're using one of our aggregators, there's really no way you can get in trouble. Now those aggregators are, as I said, ProQuest, EBSCO, and Gale. You don't have to write this down. We have this on our webpage, and I'm going to show you an online document that we've created that allows you to, that shows you different ways to cite to keep yourselves from getting in trouble. But right here, I've got my works cited list. I will tell you this, I've been at Bentley for a while. I've been at Bentley for 20 years. And when I first got to Bentley, we didn't have anything like this. We had ProQuest, we had a few other databases. The internet it still existed, but we didn't have as many databases. As soon as we got this vendor, ProQuest, they were the first vendor that provided citations for our students like this. So one of the things that happened is students would come to the library and say, I need to use ProQuest. You need to help me use ProQuest for my research. And you're like, oh, great. You already know the vendor? Sure, we can help you do that. And you start doing a search with them, and you find out that they're looking for research on Melville and the Great White Whale from Moby Dick. And you're like, well, ProQuest doesn't have any of that content. Why need to use ProQuest? Well, why? Did your instructor say you needed to use ProQuest? No, I need to use ProQuest because it cites for me. And the content they needed wasn't there, but they wanted to use ProQuest. Well, I can tell you that most of our aggregators now have that. You know, the people who have, the Gale people, for example, who have the content for Moby Dick and Melville, they provide a service like this too. But this is a great way to keep yourself, when you are writing, when you are doing some research, to get a works cited page created for yourself. Now, all of that is great, but we have another way of keeping everyone at Bentley citing. As I said, this is our homepage. I'll go over the homepage in a second real quick. But one of the things I do want to point out on here is if we scroll down to Research Help, this is how you can contact professional reference librarians. Now, many of you may have noticed the library is closed today. Although I will tell you this, I showed up about 3 o'clock to get ready for this and just get myself set to listen to the end of the Patriots game. They're still winning, by the way. Tom Brady doesn't have an audience as good as me today. But that's a terrible suck up on my part. But one of the things there was actually someone in the library today. That's what I meant to tell you. We had left a door open and the student was actually in there studying already, in the dark. I asked him why he thought no one else was around, and he said, I just thought I was the only one studying today. Good answer. I said, why did you think it was dark and there were no lights on? And he said, I thought we were saving energy. So those are great answers. He did. He thought we were saving energy and staff. I did actually have to tell him to leave, which was terrible. We don't like to keep people out of the library. But my point telling that little story, which is a true story, these are the ways you can get in touch with a reference librarian, a professional reference librarian. You can chat with us. You can email us at refdesk.bentley.edu. You can text us. You can call us. And you can use our research guides, and you can also schedule a research consultation. If you do have a research question, or you want to know how a resource works, maybe you've never used Standard & Poor's, you've never used any of the databases from Standard & Poor's, your instructor tells you you're going to have to do that this semester. You're going to have to use Capital IQ from Standard & Poor's. You can use that research consultation link, which will send you to a page where you can make an appointment and meet with a reference librarian who will find time to sit down with you. We have reference librarians who work 8:30 in the morning till 9 o'clock at night, not all at once, but we schedule our reference guests from that time. We are here every Saturday, we are here every Sunday, not obviously today, we're here every Sunday, and we're here every holiday that the library is open. So if the library is open, there will be a professional reference librarian scheduled for at least 8 hours of the day to be on our reference desk. We do actually like to meet with our students face-to-face. We realize that many of you will be having courses in the evening. And that went out again, didn't it? We realize that students will be having courses in the evenings. We get that. That's why we have a reference librarian working till 9 o'clock. Now, there's a caveat with that. On Saturdays, we stop reference service at 6 o'clock. On Sundays, we do have reference service till 9 o'clock. On Saturdays, we stop reference service at 6 o'clock. The reason for that is we have reference service on Saturday mornings. We understand also your schedules. Many of you may also be holding down full-time jobs or part-time jobs, have families and the like. So we understand that those Saturday morning times, and this is just someone who's worked in the library for 20 years. If you need a group study room, now remember, most of the students here are undergraduates. They have a different sort of lifestyle than people who are adulting. Many of the group study rooms are available on Saturday mornings. So if you need to do group work, it tends to be a great time, and we tend to see a lot of our graduate students on Saturday mornings. It doesn't mean you have to come on Saturday morning. We're not saying, just as a hint, our group study rooms, we have 24 of them in the building. You can book them online, and when I get this thing working again, I will show you how we can book those. But our group study rooms can be booked through this page as well. But I do want to get to the research guides. I started talking to you a few minutes ago about citing sources, based on what Chris Beneke said. We use APA style. We have a reference librarian here. Her name is Lisa Curtin. Lisa has been here for 19 years. I have been here for 20 years. Someday we'll figure out what we're doing and get it all right. But this research guides page has a guide that Lisa created, and it's for citing sources in APA style. As I said, it's the style that we use primarily here at Bentley for business courses. If we scroll down to citing business sources using APA style, this system that this is on, this is a hosted system. It's actually in the cloud. We make the web pages, but another company hosts this for us, so the server's not here at Bentley, so we have to pay for a server to take care of it. But other people on this system can see the guides that are created. This guide is the most popular guide on the LibGuides system, which is universities all over the United States of America. And the reason it's so popular is because what it provides users here. It's how to cite from all of our business databases, or what we think would be business databases, in APA style, and it gives you examples from books. It gives you examples from things like AdSpender. AdSpender is a database that you'd use if you were creating a marketing or an advertising campaign, and you wanted to know how much it was to add, how much it was to get ads in cable, on cable TV, on regular TV, on the radio, in newspapers and journals. You'd use AdSpender. You create your own reports in AdSpender. Well, this is an example of if you created your own report in AdSpender of how you would cite it. So there are a lot of different, there's so many of these that it's a pretty impressive endeavor on Lisa's part, and she updates it almost daily. So she updates it almost daily. It's just about every resource we can think of at Bentley that someone would use business research for and would need to cite with APA. So it's not the type of thing that you find in an APA handbook. If you come to us and say, is this citation correct? We're going to say, I don't know. We'll help you, but librarians don't give you a grade. Okay? The only thing that can keep you from getting in trouble with academic integrity is working with your faculty member. Okay? Work with the faculty member. Those of you, as I said, who work, Lisa actually teaches in the corporate immersion program, so she gets to see a lot of our graduate students, gets to help them with this, sort of the genesis of this. But this, to dovetail, once again, what Chris Beneke was talking about, this is a great resource. It also even has presentations and slides. You have a presentation in class, a company comes and makes a presentation in your class, you want to cite that. This is actually, we have the proper way to actually cite using APA. You don't find that in a lot of places. It's the hardest stuff to find. You usually have to do that yourself. So please take advantage of this resource. To link to this resource, anyone who is on this system, and it's a nationwide system, has to ask Bentley for permission, and Lisa must get 5 or 6 requests a week about people linking to this. So it's hugely popular, and it's a great resource. Students all over the country are using it, and we're glad for that. Getting back here to our research help page, as I said, you can chat with us, you can call us. Over on the left-hand side of the quick links, you'll see at the top it says group study rooms. I mentioned before we have 24 group study rooms in the building. Most of them have a computer, and most of them have an LCD screen, a big flat panel. There are a few that don't, and that came from requests from students who said, we would like to have a meeting room where there's no technology because Billy, and it's always a boy, wants to watch soccer while we're doing this, and it's annoying us. So can we get a room? And Billy, since he's always watching soccer, never remembers what room they're booking. He shows up, sees there's no flat screen. Well, too bad, Billy. It's always a boy. It always is. As a male, it's very disappointing. As the male who has a 15-year-old son, I know Declan is going to be Billy when he gets to college. I already know that. A little disappointing, but that notwithstanding, you can book a group study room online 2 weeks in advance. Okay, the group study rooms can be booked for 2 hours a day per person. So you can't book one at 2 in the afternoon on Saturday from 2 to 4, and then go book the next group study room, down the hall from 4 to 6. You can't do that. This is just not from early in the semester. You'll note that, actually I'll call up the system just so you can see it. Booking our group study rooms. We can view reservations. Now for today, there won't be any reservations, right? Because the library is closed, so no one can make a reservation. For tomorrow, this won't let me go forward. Oh, here we go. No. All right. Well, for tomorrow, you would see, anytime this is red, anytime there's a red square, the room is booked for that time. You'll note on the side, it tells you if it has an LCD panel or if it doesn't have an LCD panel. Okay? Every room does have a whiteboard, in case you want to whiteboard things. You can ask at the library services desk if you need a marker or markers. The other thing to note about this, and it doesn't do it here on the scheduler, each one of these rooms is a different size. There are some that will hold 12 students, there are some that will only hold 5 students. You really don't know that when you book, you kind of got to learn that. We don't have a way to tell you that. But most of the group study rooms are on the top floor. Big thing, if you've never used one of our group study rooms before, if you don't listen to anything I say, please listen to this and write it down. When you book a group study room, when it is time for your appointment to start, so if the library is open today and we had a group study room booked for 5 o'clock, okay, a few minutes from now, you want to book that group study room, you go to your room, it's room 103, which is on the main floor of the library. You go to 103, nobody's in there, your reservation hasn't started, that's fine, you can go in. Nobody's in there, you go in, you're waiting for your reservation to start, your group members show up, you start working. At 5:16, a librarian comes by and knocks on the window and says, sorry, someone else has this room booked. And you said, no they don't, I booked it for 5. You have to start the appointment by going outside the door and pressing the start button between 5 and 5:15. You have a 15-minute window. The reason for that is people were booking group study rooms and not showing up, and then others are thinking, well, I can't use the room because there's a red panel, there's a big red light that says it's booked. I can't use this. This idea came from your fellow students 10 years ago. They said, what if we designed a system where if you don't start your meeting, you don't get your room? So it's on you. Start your meeting within 15 minutes of the start. Now it has to be from the time it starts. You can't get there 10 minutes early and start your meeting, because you'd end up losing time anyways. Your group mates may not be there. You can use a group study room by yourself, but if 2 people come along and say they need to use the group study room and you're by yourself and it's the only room available, you have to leave. It is for group work. Okay, there are other group study rooms on campus. We like ours better. They're nicer with really comfy chairs. As I tell my boss all the time, I could sit in these chairs and do nothing all day long. Someday she'll get that joke and I'll be in trouble. But let me get back to. All right, let me get back here. Once again, back on the library's homepage. Couple of things real quick. For those of you who would be looking for books, and we still buy books at the Bentley Library, it's probably, how many of you have seen the library, gone in the library, done a tour of the library? It's probably the smallest university library you'll ever see physically. It's not that big. We're not, it's not that we're upset about that. It's physically not that big. We don't have a ton of space. Part of it is we make up for it by having over 100 academic resources, 100 electronic resources for academic research and use. So we don't get all hung up on the fact that we're not that big a library. We have only about 150,000 titles in the building. We do have things in storage. Okay, so we do usually have the book that you would need. Okay, at least one of you. Now, a couple things about using the library. You can use this tab here, as I said, books, video, audio. You can search for a book by the author. You can search for a book by broad subject matter. You can search for a book by its title. How many of you have had to get textbooks this semester? Okay, one of the things you'll know about the library, and I don't apologize for this because it would break our budget, we usually don't buy textbooks. You could look to see if your textbook is there by putting the title of your textbook in. If we just happen to buy a book they're using as a textbook, that happens. It happens from time to time. Or, more likely, a faculty member may put a book on reserve that's a textbook. They usually get a review copy or a desk copy. They can place that on reserve. If it's on reserve, it usually doesn't leave the library. You can only use it for a couple hours at a time. It does happen, but if you forget your textbook, check. Okay, see if we don't have a copy of it. Other things that I would like to point out that people may not know, we have an audiobook collection, and we have a bestsellers collection. For those of you who like to read just for fun, or maybe listen to audiobooks while you're in the car or working out, and our audiobooks aren't traditional audiobooks, they're not books on tape. We actually give you the player, and you just plug your headphones in, and you use it so you don't have to use, well, someone else's headphones, that's too gross. But we do have a lot of these other things. The other thing we have, that, and I've been doing this for a number of years with graduate students, one thing that I've been doing this for years, when someone found something out and came to me at the reference and said, how come you didn't tell me this when you talked to us when we were here for our orientation? And I forgot about it. We actually have some other things. We have a museum pass program. So our museum pass program allows you to borrow borrow passes from the library for free and discounted admission to local museums. So take advantage of it. It's part of just something that the library does. You can take advantage of that. We also have a bestsellers collection, where if there's a book that you're interested in and you think you might want the library to get, you can just contact us anywhere here. One of the ways you can do it is just contacting us, refdesk@bentley.edu, and say, hey, would the library be interested in purchasing this book? We're not going to buy your textbook, but one of the ways that we get, some of the best titles that we get, some of the best suggestions come from students. It's something that you see and say, hey, I think this would help make your collection a little more interesting. We're always looking for that. We're always looking for something that will make the collection more interesting, especially in the lines of bestsellers. All right? Few things. Food and drink in the library is actually allowed. Many of you may have come from libraries where they don't allow that, or have had experience in libraries where they don't allow that. We allow food and drink because we have a restaurant in the building. And it's really hard to say, you know, please come in, buy a bagel and coffee, but keep it in that little tiny room. Now, we reserve the right every year to revisit this, but the folks who have come before you have done a great job of just when they're done with something, throwing it in the trash, putting things that belong in recycling in recycling. They respect the building, and that's great. We're not one of those shush quiet libraries. The ground floor of our library has an art gallery that does all kinds of shows year-round. We have a restaurant or a food service point, Einstein's Bagels. By the way, they close on Saturday mornings, because who wants a bagel or coffee on Saturday morning when they're studying? So just go to Dunkin's anyways. That notwithstanding, that's just my opinion. They also have terrible tea. But they're really nice people. It's Sodexo. They do work with the library. But as I said, you know, if students respect the building, then we get to do this. We get to have people be treated like adults because they act like adults, so that's very helpful. It's something we really appreciate. And the last thing, printing in the library. How many of you have learned about your printing funds? Talked to IT yet? Okay. Your Bentley ID has printing funds on it based on the type of student you are. Okay, if you're a full-time graduate student, if you're a part-time graduate student, you have a different amount on your ID for printing. When you're in the library using one of our computers and you hit print, you can send something to the color printer or the black and white printer. When you hit Falcon Print, quick word about the Falcon in a second. Falcon is, Bentley's mascot is a falcon. When you hit Falcon Print on a library computer, it'll send it to a print queue. There are print release stations all around the campus. I'm only concerned with ones in the library. Bring your ID. You need your ID. You need to swipe your ID at a print release station, which is a printer. Swipe your ID at the printer. Anything you've sent to the printer in the last 24 hours that you didn't print, will print. Okay? We have a color printer and a black and white printer. This is actually important too. This frustrates some people. The default is for what you print to be duplex, meaning both sides of paper. Before you print, if you only want to print on one side, you have to change it from duplex to one-sided. Okay, before you print, because we see people all the time, and they have, you know, recycling the paper or throwing it away, getting frustrated. It's Bentley setup. It's not the library setup. So please remember that when you print. The other thing is, it's 5 cents a page to print. If you do print duplex, it's 4 cents a page. If you print color, it's 8 cents a page. Make sure you pick the printer you want. Library has printers on all floors. We have photocopiers on all floors. Okay, your photocopiers, you actually can't use your Bentley ID. You actually have to get change. But you can swipe your ID at a print release station. As I said, your print shop stays for 24 hours. We have the help desk in our building. So if you have a problem printing, you can go to the help desk. You don't have to go to the library. If there's a problem with your funds. How many of you brought your own computer to Bentley? Okay, if you stop the help desk, they can, in most cases, get the print queue placed on your laptop. The library is wireless. Okay, so you can also come to the library reference desk. And you walk in the main door of the library, the public services desk, the library services desk is on the left, the reference desk is on the right. You can stop at the reference desk and we'll give you a card that shows you how to get your computer on the network. Okay, how you can do that. You can also go to the help desk and they can walk you through that. Having them in our building is great. It is really good. If there's a problem, you know, we don't have to try to triage it and try to, you know, figure out what went wrong. We can send you right down one flight of stairs and you're right there at the help desk. Any questions? Yes?
Is the library service only for current students or is it available to alumni as well?
Alumni can use library services. Alumni cannot use databases off campus. Most of our databases do allow what they call walk-ins. And they can be alumni, they can be family members, they can be community members. A number of our databases, and I don't suspect you would have known who these people are, but a number of our databases, including Mintel, Westlaw, Forrester, and Gartner, do make you log in with your Bentley credentials, and you have to be a current Bentley student. But they're also really expensive, and they're protective of the information that they provide. So that can be a tough one. But most of our aggregators you can come in and just use it. Yes, sir.
Is there no 24-hour section in the library?
There is no 24-hour section of the library. We do 24 hours at finals. We've done 24-hour time. The problem is we're paying 2 students and a professional to sit in a building that was empty, which the school found to be, it was founded as the Harry Bentley School of Accounting. We are conservative with a small c. We don't like to waste money, and if nobody comes in, we have to stop it. We try it from time to time, but every time we try it, we end up doing it for a couple months and having just 5 people in 3 weeks come in. And it's hard to pay people to do that. We do it at finals. At finals, we are 24/7. We don't have a lockout area. Some institutions have tried a lockout area. We tried it with our cafe, but people were then just saying, well, I'm sitting on a wooden chair with a wooden table.
Yeah, that's what we had at Trinity. We had a cafe locked
Yeah.
out.
Yeah, why am I doing this? So that's what we ran into too. Yes, ma'am.
I suppose within rooms, if it's 2 hours per person, let's say if you had a group like five, and you need the space for more than 2 hours, is it possible to just have the second person?
Technically, it's supposed to be 2 hours per group. So I'm sure there are people who do that, but if we see the same group in there for 3 hours and it's finals and everyone needs a group study room, we're going to ask. The other thing is, every once in a while, I hate to say this, every once in a while we get a faculty member, usually an adjunct, who will ask you to book a group study room so they can do like a meeting with you or maybe a seminar. I don't want to put you in a bad place and saying no to. I'm a faculty member here, I teach in the CIS department as well. I would never do this to students, and some do. If that happens and they ask you to book a group study room, because as a staff member, I can't book a group study room. As a faculty member, I can't book a group study room. Only students can. The system doesn't allow it, so they'll ask a student. You don't have to say no to your faculty member. You don't have to rat them out. But know this, if one of us walks by and we know who the faculty member is, and we know who they are, and we see them in a room with 5 kids and they're doing a seminar, you're all going to be finding a new place to study in a few minutes, because that's an immediate objection. And we tell the faculty member's chair, because we can't have people teaching in those rooms. We've only got 24 of them, and we've got almost 4,000 people on this campus. They all need those group study rooms. So it does happen. It doesn't happen a lot. I don't want to put you in a bad position. Do what you feel is best, but know this, we will ask you and your faculty member to leave. That group will have to leave. Even if there's no one there, we just can't set the precedent. Any other questions? Great, that was a great, happy thing for me to leave on, wasn't that? Huh? Yeah. Well, thank you all. Welcome to Bentley. We look forward to seeing you in the library and about campus. And have a great day, and I believe the Patriots did win, so win-win for everyone.